Hi, Jim Kennard again. Let's talk about harvesting for just a few minutes this morning. Let's look at these beans. Now, pole beans are different than bush beans in that bush beans, the harvest comes on almost all at once. And in 2 to 3 weeks, you have everything you're going to get. But pole beans take a while for the plant to get big, and then it starts producing flowers and, of course, fruit. You want to be sure that you have your beans big enough when you harvest them. For example, we have some of different sizes right here, and if you can just zoom in, Araxia, you'll see brand new baby ones, a little bigger, larger, and these are just about big enough to harvest. You don't want to harvest them when they're small, because it's only going to be 3 or 4 days before that doubles in size. And you don't want to lose your harvest. These, again, are just about ready to pick. You see, we harvested beans here just yesterday, and already these are almost big enough to pick. So make sure that you don't pick them when they are smaller, but don't wait until they get big and heavy with full-size seeds in them, because then they're tough and they're not nearly as good. Let's talk for a minute about cucumbers. We have here something called Sweeter Yet, and I'm going to put a plug in for Sweeter Yet because it's a wonderful cucumber. The growth habit is excellent. It produces a cucumber at basically every leaf node, and it does not send out many runners, so it's easy to prune. Also, you want to make sure that you don't pick them when they look like this. These are immature, and once again, you will waste much of your harvest if you pick them too soon. Let me show you one that is ready to pick. Here we have a couple of cucumbers that are ready to pick. This is the right time, and you don't really want to let them get bigger, much bigger than this. Otherwise, the seeds mature and they are not as good. Like many other plants in the garden, cucumbers come in both bush and pole, climbing, or vining varieties. Now, our Sweeter Yet are certainly climbing varieties. Boston Pickling is another variety that we grow, and it comes in both bush and vining varieties. Once again, you want to make sure of the size before you pick them. For example, these here are just about getting ready for picking. A little small still, but it depends on what you want to do with them. This one is a good size for pickling. Much bigger than this, and it will start to get yellow, and of course the seeds get mature and it's tougher and not as good to eat. Now let's look at corn. This is called Honey Select, and it normally grows 6 to 7 feet tall in most people's gardens. In our garden, it will grow to 10 or 11 feet tall. In most gardens, it'll produce only 1 ear. We very often get 2 ears on our Honey Select corn. Now, at this point, you'll see that the tassels are just appearing. Today, I'm going to give this corn its final feeding, and then it'll be about 3 weeks before we have mature corn. Let's now look at the mature corn and see when we harvest. There are several ways to check the corn to see how ready it is. Certainly the size is a factor. This is very small and is nowhere near ready. The silk is also light and pretty fresh looking. On the other hand, when corn gets to be ready to pick, the silk turns brown and dries out. Also, you start to see the outer leaves on the husk be brown, turn brown a little bit. Another way to tell is to feel it and to see how full it actually feels. You don't want to open it up if you can avoid it, because opening it up of course, gives access to the bugs and diseases. But let's just open this one up. I'm feeling it here, and I can feel that, get that leaf out of the way, I can feel that it's quite full, feels full, and then I can feel at the end where the kernels stop. Let's open it up and confirm that it is in fact ripe, as you see there. So that one is good to go. As a matter of fact, what I'd like to show you is that many of the corns, especially the triple sweets, are delicious raw. Man, that's good. You can, of course, peel off some of this, leave a few husks, put it in the microwave, 2 minutes, you got the most fabulous corn you've ever eaten. Butter, salt, and pepper. Let's look now at tomatoes. This is about the typical color that you'll normally harvest tomatoes, but it depends on the variety. For example, we have an heirloom variety called Armenian here, and it never does get red. It almost looks like a peach and has a wonderful flavor. Also, the heirlooms very often will crack, as you see there. I think this one is Siberian Rose. Tastes wonderful, but the growth habit is kind of weird, and it often does crack. But now let's think of one other thing regarding tomatoes that maybe you haven't given much consideration to. So many times people have a lot of tomatoes when the season ends or when their plants get frozen, and they think, well, they're wasted. They throw them away, or they try putting them on their garage floor and ripening them. But there's something called green tomato salad that is outstanding. You need to go to Auroxia's blog, recipeforeveryone.blogspot.com, and you can find the recipe for green tomato salad, and that is a wonderful way to use your tomatoes. Now, of course, protecting those tomatoes and letting them mature on the vine is the best way, and we'll cover that in a separate video. Let's just look at cherry tomatoes. They come in lots of different sizes and varieties, and certainly you don't want to be picking them green like that. But sometimes you'll have a string that is partially green and partially red. It's best to pick them individually because the green ones will not mature very well off the vine. Let's talk for a minute about celery. Celery is a crop that most people don't grow. You buy it in the store, and that's usually enough. But this is a crop that is very prolific, and your family can live off of it for months. How? Simply by taking off the outer leaves one at a time, and occasionally. Now they're going to be a little bit richer in flavor, but they are very healthy for you when they're green. Stuff you get in the store is yellow, white, and that's because it's been covered and protected from the sun. Much of the nutrition is in the darker green. So pick these and use them. Salads, soups, just plain like this. And keep this picked from the outside so that you can use that one stalk of celery to feed your family for weeks and weeks and weeks.